Hey, everybody. This is
Hello.
HFPod Live. Hi, Brian.
Hello.
Hi, Brian.
Hi,
Hello.
Meg. Hi, Megan.
Hey, RJ.
It's not every day that I do the intro, so we're getting used to this. We are here to talk about MSG and to talk about fish and a lot of other stuff. We have a special guest, Jake Sherman, who's going to join us briefly here. And I do want to say, please, if you don't already subscribe to the podcast, check us out on Apple. We have a bunch of premium content, including scintillating conversations that Brian, Megan, and I have about various fish topics. It's really fun, and that's on HFPod Premium on Osiris Media on Apple. I hope you guys are doing well. We're going to dive into it, so I'm not going to ask you both how you're doing today, but I assume you're doing well, and I hope you're doing well.
Good.
Great.
Perfect. So I'm gonna bring Jake on in one sec. I do want to say first that we want to thank our friends at Sunset Lake CBD for being a sponsor. As you probably have heard by now, their line of smokable hemp products are for anyone, any music fan. Smoking CBD, ingesting CBD has all the benefits of high THC cannabis without some of the side effects that happen from time to time. They have a ton of different strains, and I use Sunset Lake CBD all the time. But I first, instead of telling you about that again, I want to tell you about an email that we received over the weekend from Ben Goodrich, who's a listener. He said, "Hello, HF Pod," and that's a great greeting. I wanted to write and thank you for introducing me to Sunset Lake CBD. I've been a cannabis smoker on and off for 25 years. Lately, high THC cannabis has not done well with me for a variety of reasons, but I was always hesitant to try CBD. I finally ordered some smokable CBD from Sunset Lake on your recommendation, and I love it. Last weekend, I went camping and hiking in the Utah desert, and having some CBD at night by the campfire while listening to fish was practically perfect. I will definitely be ordering more products from Sunset Lake. Love the pod. Keep up the good work. And RJ, you are incredibly handsome. Sorry, I just made that last part up. He actually said, I will see you at Dick's in September. So thank you, Ben, and thank you, Sunset Lake. Go to sunsetlakecbd.com and use the code HFPod for 20% off. So with that being said, I'm going to add our friend Jake Sherman to the chat here. Hey, Jake.
Hey, how are you guys?
Hey, Jake.
We are doing well.
Hello.
Jake, I want to talk about a few things. I guess I'll just do a quick intro and say that you started this new media company it's been about like a little over a year, right?
That's right. Yeah, January 2021, Punchbowl News. Yes, we are like 16 months, 14 months, 16 months old or something like that. Yeah.
It's amazing. And I know, so you're an entrepreneur and you're a political reporter and you're a fish fan, obviously, which is why you're here.
All of those things. Yes.
I remember there's so much stuff we could talk about. You were in the middle of the January 6th stuff. I remember talking with you about that, and you've been through all kinds of insane stuff on Capitol Hill and in Washington, which maybe we can talk about on, a political version of this show, but you have a bunch of experience.
Is there a political version of the show?
There should be.
We're launching one next month.
There really should be.
Don't compete with us. Come on.
Exactly.
Tall order.
But Jake, you were on HF Pod years ago. I think it was probably like 6 years ago or so.
Yeah, that's right.
Refresh our listeners' memory of how'd you get into fish and what was your first show?
So, okay. My dad is a big music fan, and he was a big Deadhead. Got me into live music when I was really young. My first show, I kind of resisted the temptations of the Grateful Dead and Fish for a long time. He was a Deadhead before he was a Fish fan. And then my first show, so I'm only 30. How old am I? I'm 36. And my first show was the first Coney Island show of that 2004 run, which was kind of like a dark and depressing time for fish fans for many reasons. Wow. So I'm I can't even say I'm a newbie because I've probably been to 130 shows since then, which is a lot. But now I have 3 kids and a wife and a company, so I don't find myself like going, doing Deer Creek Alpine and driving for, days on end with fish, but all that said, I still make it to a ton of shows. And so that's basically how I got into it. But I was lucky because all my years in college, fish was not around, or else I would have been like a 10-year college student, I fear, um, which was a blessing and a curse, I suppose, at the same time. So that's pretty much my story. I had one of my best buddies who was a little bit older than me in college, but he lived in DC when I first got back to DC after grad school. And he kind of took me under his wing in the early 2010, 2011 is when I saw, 2010 through 2016, I saw a lot of fish. I mean, more than I would care to admit, or I guess I could admit it here. This is the place to care to admit it.
This is a good space.
Definitely. That's the name.
So that's kind of my general story.
Amazing.
I saw fish about a year before you did for the first time. I'm a child of 2.0 as well, which people will always tell me I'm a noob, but it's 20 years now.
Listen, what I tell people all the time is I can't like change how old I am.
Right.
What I mean?
This is like the only community where people want to be older. It's like very weird.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I have a lot of friends who were my age, who saw them in like late 90s, 2003, but there wasn't a lot of opportunity given where they were in the early 2000, 2001, 2002, and then in 2003. So I guess I just missed that year by a year. Anyway, that's kind of my deal.
So, Jake, we've been talking about the MSG shows for months. It seems like at least
started
the last...
in early December, and
I think RJ, we spoke briefly in like November about doing something around the MSG shows.
Yeah, exactly.
Here we are in April. Yeah,
still MSG prep. I know you spent time at MSG. How do you feel? Like, I'm trying to kind of consolidate all the conversations we've had into a couple of questions, but what do you feel about MSG? Like, what does it mean to you, particularly as it relates to fish?
Well, I grew up in Connecticut, so MSG is like, I mean, I haven't lived there in a long time, in almost 20 years, but MSG was kind of my home turf, so to speak. My first show at MSG as a relative adult was Dave Matthews in December 2002, when I got a floor ticket from, like, I got lucky from Ticketmaster somehow, and I got a floor ticket. So I have a lot of memories there. I've seen fish there probably 25 or so times. I feel like more than anywhere else, like, I feel like obviously fish is a huge community, obviously, I'm not saying anything that people here don't know, but MSG, I feel like you feel it more. Maybe because I just walk through the halls and I just know I run into 50 people, excuse me as I spit all over the place, 50 people that I know. I think that kind of brings it home in a sense, like that is that's the dynamic there. And it just feels like it's much more, you're kind of much more, and I don't know, I've been to a ton of arena or indoor shows. Most notably, I really love the UIC Pavilion in Chicago, which is a great place to see fish. Kind of Bill Graham is a great place, or when I've seen fish there, it's been really fun. But MSG feels like you're in this like cocoon in a way, and you're all experiencing the same thing. And I think it's the lighting too, right? Like you could see there are just times where the entire place is lit up and you could see people's faces from kind of across the room. So that's kind of I'm only making it to one of this run, unfortunately, Saturday night, which I'm disappointed about, but this is life and you gotta roll with the punches. And so I'm really pumped for it. That's, I guess, all I could say. I'm going to probably wear a mask because I don't want to bring COVID home to my 3 young unvaccinated children. But no, I'm super pumped.
That's, first of all, 3 kids all unvaccinated. That's like, you got to be super careful still.
But by the way, I'm taking my oldest, who's 4.5. this summer. I've made that my goal for the summer. I'm going to take him to Merriweather, and my wife, his
Nice.
mom,
Oh, that's awesome.
my wife and his mother are going to be will take him home at some point, you know, during the first set, I imagine. But I kind of want him to. He's young, and I don't know when else I'll take him to a show. And I kind of the pandemic has brought home this idea that like you need to seize the moment, and you need to just you got to do it at the moment you think you should do it. So I'm going to take him this summer. I always made fun of people who were taking their little kids to shows, but now I'm like, oh, I totally understand why they're doing this.
You make fun of them until you're that person.
Exactly.
So.
And I've become that person. Yeah, I've become that person.
We're taking our son to see Trey at Red Rocks this summer, and it's the same thing. It's
by the way, one venue I still have not been to. I need to. That's like my. I need to go. I know. I've just been. What the problem is, and I know we're veering from MSG, so I hope you just shout me down if I'm veering. I'm waiting for the right moment and the right band to see there. I mean, I don't think Fish is going. I don't think Fish is going to play there anytime soon, just because it's too small. And that the juice in some ways isn't worth the squeeze for them. But I've thought about seeing J-Rad there. I've thought about seeing Humphreys there, and I love all of them. And for various reasons, it didn't work out time-wise. But this is I need to get there. That's basically my point. I need to get to Red Rocks like sooner rather than later.
Lives up to the hype. It does.
It does.
Yeah, it really does.
I haven't seen a show there either. I've only visited, which is like.
Is that right? You haven't seen a show there?
No, I know.
Wow.
Let's go.
I'm down, dude. Just tell me when.
We'll go.
We could do a live podcast from the parking lot at Red Rocks.
We'll do it.
Exactly.
I saw the last time Fish played there in '96. Those 4 shows.
Wow.
I thought they've played there more recently than '96. No.
Actually, maybe they did when they came back.
They did. They played.
They did a 4-night run in 09. Yeah.
In 09. Yep.
Is that the only other time since then? I think so. Right?
I think they played
since then. Yeah.
Is that right? Do you guys know that? I guess I can look that up. But
yeah, they went to Dick's after that because that's the only place that could.
It wasn't big enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? It's only like 10,000 people or
9,000 something.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking right now. Yeah, last show 09. You're right.
09. So Jake, before we get into the show, that we wanted you to talk about a memorable MSG show, but I want to ask you, what do you have prediction wise or thoughts on this run coming up?
Zero, nothing. I was thinking this morning in the shower, I think that they'll almost definitely do a balloon drop on Saturday night. But other than that, I have no predictions. Zero. I mean, I try to keep my expectations in check, if that makes sense, for the inevitable, not letdown, but for just so I could enjoy what actually happens instead of build up something that might or might not happen.
I mean, I think that's the way to be. It's hard. Yep. It's really hard. It actually takes a lot of effort to not think about it too much.
Yeah, I just find that no matter how much I listen to Fish, I'm eternally wrong on my predictions, and they're
only have one.
It's fun to make them, but
I only have one amazing prediction story. I was in the parking lot at Merriweather. I don't remember what year this was, but early 2010s. And I turned to my friend. I was like, "They're going to play Albuquerque tonight," and he's like, "They're not," and they did. And it was a prediction born of nothing but just good luck. So that's my only prediction.
Intervention.
What we say in politics is what I say all the time to people when I talk to people is I got out of the prediction business post 2016 after Donald Trump won the presidency, and I've gladly stayed out of the prediction business since then.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, thinking about it and trying to predict what's going to happen, it's just. I mean, I guess it can be entertaining, but it's mostly a losing battle, and you're like bound to just be wrong.
Yep.
I mean, I think that's why we like this band, right? They're totally
the unpredictableness.
Yeah, actually, and I guess it's similar in politics, although there's more data, but I don't know at this point, like you said, post 2016, like now you can't predict anything.
Yeah, and there's more at stake in politics than there is at shows. It's funny. I got a call the other day, again, veering too far from the median here, but I got a call from a member of Congress, a Republican, who is like, middle-aged, probably in his 60s. I guess it's not middle-aged, but in his 60s, who said, I was calling him on a specific topic, and he said, he said, "Wait, you don't want to hear my thoughts about fish?" And I was like, "I do not want to hear your thoughts about fish. No, I do not.
That's hilarious.
Wow.
I do not." And it was a very unassuming. I mean, I was surprised that this person even. I guess I'm not very reserved when it comes to the music I like. So anyhow,
I'm kind of curious about what his thoughts
Yeah.
on fish were.
Yeah, me
actually.
too.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
he's like a huge closeted fan.
I don't think he is. I think he was just giving me a hard time. But I guess I could be surprised. Maybe another prediction I shouldn't make.
Let's phone him in. We'll ask one fish question, one policy question.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
This is already the politics podcast that you
Yeah.
promised that you were.
Well, and actually, we can't pass up an opportunity to plug Osiris stuff. You were on Politics of Truth with Bob Crawford
I was.
a few times in 2020, and I loved that he did that show. It was really fun to listen to.
Yeah, he's a good guy. I actually saw him in the Capitol not too long ago. He was there with his family, and
nice.
I ran into him. He texted me, and then I was running somewhere, and I saw him. So, yep.
Awesome. What a
All
good
the worlds coming together. Yeah.
Good dude. So Jake, you have limited time because you're with family and you're doing your job. But in the time that we have, we should talk about this show because I think you and I have talked about this show before. But
We have. I actually realized that today. We have talked about it before.
Okay. Well, it's great to go back to. I haven't listened to it probably since then, but we're talking about 12/28/2011 at MSG. I guess just start by telling us a little bit about why you chose the show.
It was the first night of a 4-night run. I remember quite well. I'm 99.9% sure of that. And it was like when they played Free. I've said this before, and I hope this is not that anybody's listening to what I have to say about fish on a regular basis, but I felt like it was like almost like a cathartic moment. Like the feeling that I forgot. It was like, okay, we're back. It was just like a moment of of release for everybody. That was a run that I was at every night of, because again, I had no children and no wife. I remember precisely where I was sitting. I was side stage, I think in like the 209 is my recollection. And it was just an amazing first set, which, by the way, I don't say that about a ton of, I say that about a lot of first sets, but that's not typically what I focus on when I think about shows. But it was just like I think it was Free Glide Possum to start the show, which was like a really good triumvirate to start an MSG run. So I just thought it was really cool. And to be honest with you, since then, it's hard to pick a great MSG show. Like I got in 2019, I believe. Was that the Soul Planet New Year's Eve thing? I think it was. I'm pretty sure that was the Soul Planet New Year's Eve gag.
Soul Planet was 2017.
17. Really?
Yeah.
That makes more sense, actually.
19 was the Trey got stuck on the platform.
Right. Yeah. Right. 2017. I got to see them rehearse that Soul Planet thing. And I was like sworn to secrecy, like get off your cell phone type deal. And that was also a really cool thing. That was like, a blood oath, like you shall not, thou shall not pass. But no, I have a tough time. I do have a tough time kind of narrowing down the MSG shows because all of them are so cool and special. And it's also just like, it's tough to keep in mind, but like you're in the middle of the city in a massive like spaceship in a sense. And and it's cliche to say, but the building bounces, which is awesome. But anyway, that's my thoughts about the early part of that show.
That was the first, when I was listening back to it, I didn't realize this. I texted this to Brian, but that was the first free opener ever.
That's crazy.
Was it?
Yeah.
Ever.
Which I would have guessed that would have been late 90s, and I had no idea. Which is like you said, a great way to kick off a run.
But it was also great cities too, and
really good cities.
Really good cities. I actually have that bass line like committed to memory. In that jam, but that is amazing. That was the first time they had opened with Free. That's like a That's like a stat that I would never think about during a show because I'd I'd have to Google it, and that takes a little too much effort during a show.
Well, and I looked it up because I know I've seen free openers since. They've done it 8 times since this show. So clearly, like opening up a run, it really kicked something off. And I totally agree with you. Like the idea of the feeling I forgot as being this, the lyric that hits you 2 minutes into a show.
Totally.
They opened up the first show post curveball with free, and it kind of gave off this like sentiment of, okay, that sucked, but we're back.
We're back.
And we're here and we're playing again.
Yep.
You also had the second glide of 3.0 at this show. The first one was MSG 09. And then, that Cities. It's like the 4th song of the set. And it just goes off the deep end into this jam. And it almost seems like it shocks the band because they kind of like stop it. Like the jam felt like it could keep going, but it was almost like they were a little bit freaked out that, whoa, we found this space already, which was really cool. And I thought led to some great music in the second set as well. But I agree with you. This first set's just rocking all the way through.
Yeah. And I also kind of wonder about this run, again, veering, but like there's going to be so much pent up demand within the band that I sense that like, okay, we're getting back. It's, obviously the virtual New Year's was cool, but it was not, it wasn't New Year's. And I just feel like there's a lot of like pent up energy that'll hit probably, somewhere in that first night that's just going to be wild.
Yeah, it's going to be, I wonder how they do a really good job of handling those moments, obviously under pressure, but like coming out on that first night, it's going to be pretty intense,
Yeah,
emotionally and energy wise. It's just like, I don't know. It takes a
Also,
lot.
They haven't played MSG since 2019. I mean, that's crazy, and they love it. It's their mecca. It's one of their favorite places to play, the place they've played more than anywhere else. Like they're going to come in ready to go.
And also it's like, it's a weird dynamic because I was thinking about this morning also, but like summer's not far away, like this is like the summer tour begins essentially a month after these shows. Right. So it's like, I guess you don't really I can't remember.
We lost Jake for a minute. He'll be back.
Jake went the way of the cities.
Ended abruptly.
But I think to his point that he's making, the idea of, and we've talked about this, like Mexico was 2 months ago. Now we have MSG, and 5 weeks basically after the MSG run ends, we get summer tour, which is just, it's wild that we get that so quickly afterwards.
It's totally crazy. Hey Jake.
Hey Jake.
Yeah, sorry.
It's all
about
good.
That. That was weird.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Brian.
I was just gonna compliment our friend of the pod, Patrick Hickey, who called out the ripcord, the Jake ripcord, which is very appropriate for this.
that was like mid sentence too. That would have been like a really bad ripcord. That would be something that would if Trey did it would light the internet ablaze.
I mean, this Cities jam, it fizzles a little bit. It's really, it is kind of a sad ending. The only thing that redeemed it is the Curtis Lowe. I think that's a moment when you're like, okay, if you're gonna ripcord a jam and play Curtis Lowe, it might be okay.
Do it.
Yeah, and Curtis Lowe settled in really nicely. I do remember all of that, but I do remember Curtis Lowe settled in really nicely after that.
Yeah.
It's so that was the first show of this run. And I don't think I saw any of that year. You said you saw all 4 of those shows?
I did, and also a close second is the next night, which was Sloth Opener and Yem, the first 2 songs of that show, which were like, and that was a great Yem despite some Trey kind of fumbling like early on, but it was a terrific Yem, and I'm a fan of an early show Yem. I hate to tell you, I think it's like I don't want to say tired, but I like the early show placement of Yem. I think I don't want to criticize Fish in any way, shape, or form. But I think it's nice to mix up where Yem sits in a set list. Let me put it that way.
Totally.
You
Yeah.
know,
I saw
like
it
an
as a
early show
second.
Yem.
Yeah.
I saw it as the second song of the show in LA this year, and it just like it elevates the show almost immediately. Everyone's excited, everyone's high-fiving. It's, you know, it's like a first inning home run type of thing where like everybody just like you're in, the tension's built, and then something like that happens and it just defies your immediate expectations. It's why the prediction game is useless.
Yep, totally.
There was some really interesting stuff with like set list construction this whole run. At moments it worked and at moments it didn't. I found that really interesting listening back. Like I don't listen to 2011 Fish a lot. I was kind of disconnected from Fish at this time in my life. I had like 2 very young kids. I lived abroad. So listening back to this, I would see kind of like a show a year, but I wasn't listening to a lot of it. But this was really interesting to listen back to because you can hear them kind of like starting to practice listening to each other more. I feel like they learned a lot from the Storage Jam over the summer. And I think that you can see them trying to like listen to each other more and start to try things out. And so you get some really amazing moments kind of sprinkled throughout the run.
Yeah. I oftentimes I think a lot about set list construction, and I think I'll make a controversial point. Maybe I hope it's not too controversial. I actually think that while at times it's super rigid, not rigid, but it's super thought out, at times it's really not. I think that like, and I like to think of it like that. Like I think it's sometimes like, I'll give you a great example. On February 28th, I think in 2003 was when they busted out Destiny Unbound for the first time in what, like 15 years or something like that.
Yeah.
I can't remember where it was or who it was or something, but like someone asked either Trey or Mike about it, and they were just like, yeah, I don't know. We hadn't thought about it, but we kind of realized we hadn't played it in a while. It's like a while, like why there? Like as a fan, you're oftentimes like looking for so much more into these answers, but like sometimes it's just like, yeah, dude, like we missed playing the song. We hadn't played it in a while, and like here it is, you know?
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. Brian and I have like different viewpoints on that, and I think it's interesting because
what's your viewpoint?
Mine is similar to yours. Like I don't think they think about it as much as we think they do.
No, they don't.
I think it's a combination. I think sometimes there are obvious like historical nods, and sometimes there are spur of the moment. You know, I think Trey has spoken about how he's gotten really good at just like going out there and feeling what he wants to play and what the audience wants at that moment. But then I also think there are times when they are thinking about their history or their songs they've played before or how long it's been and what the audience wants. So I think it goes back and forth.
But I'm sure you guys have heard this, and I'm sure you have too, RJ, but like, you know, Trey's like, you know, famously like a don't read the internet type guy and let somebody else tell you what the internet is saying at any given time, which I think is super healthy. But like, you know, as somebody who is hearing things from the internet all the time, and I do not follow that rule despite people suggesting that I should. But, you know, it's like I think that, you know, like Patrick Jordan, his manager, tells him what people are saying and thinking and all that stuff. But like, he's not in tune with like the churn of the, why did he put this here? Why did he put this there type thing?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so like if you're insulated from a lot of that and you're just doing what you love to do and playing what you love to play and just doing it as like without outside influence, like that's a pretty powerful thing that is all coming from within, you know? So yes, they might realize they haven't played, you know, X for, you know, forever, but like, I think they are just much more in tune with what they're feeling internally at the moment, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I think that's
totally.
I think that's totally fair.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
I don't know if it was on this show or if I was reading something about Fish recently. It's hard to know anymore, but I think there was like a theory that like, you know, they go into these shows and like there's like well, for the people who don't see a lot of shows, let's do like one kind of bust out or like, you know, make sure there's like a couple jams in the second set. And I just don't think they think about that at all. Like I think
No,
but there's clearly a long list of songs, right, that Trey chooses from, and he knows what's like. He's not playing Bounce Around the Room every night, so he clearly has like
Right.
sense for, you know, that kind of sequencing. But I do think
But
it's
that's
probably more
different
random.
than that's just kind of knowing what you've played and what you haven't played. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
different than knowing what the
Yeah.
world wants you to play.
I think that it's interesting because, you know, so much of their career has been about this like constant evolution. You know, unlike a lot of classic rock bands, they never really reached like a sound and then just maintained that sound for the, you know, longevity of their career. And that was kind of why people kept coming back. Part of the reason you keep coming back to a Fish show is they are evolving and they're changing and they're adding new sounds and new ideas, and new songs come back, or you know, old songs come back, new songs emerge. And I think my thought constantly from like the intentionality standpoint is just like a focus on growth and what they can throw from an artistic standpoint at what will challenge them, what may change the dynamic of a show, rather than like, what did these 10 people on Twitter think we need to do tonight? Because these 10 people on Twitter have such a voice that if we do this, they'll be happy and thus the fan base will be happy. If we don't do this, they'll be angry and thus the fan base will be angry.
I saw Trey and talked to him right before my book came out. It might have even been in that MSG run. And he kind of said that. He said, listen, like if I focused on everybody's like reviews every night, then I would just play to the reviews, and I'd always get too high or always get too low depending on what's happening. And like that's just like an unhealthy thing. Of course, when my book came out, this was many years ago, I also did not follow that advice either. So I'm not really one to talk.
It takes a long time. He's been at this a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. And you know, but listen, you're talking to like not the world's only. I don't want to say that. I am a big full band Time Turns Elastic fan, so I am like
Nice.
so like if you listen to my reviews, I would be like, yeah, Time Turns Elastic.
So how much
Oh,
were you
man.
freaking out on New Year's Eve this year?
Oh, dude. So I was at a friend's dinner party, and I have to split in a minute before my wife finds the Fish tickets in my office drawer, rips them up, and lights them on fire. But
this is a good
I was
point
at
to
a-
go out on. A Time Turns
Yeah.
Elastic
I was
point. This is
I
good.
was I was at a dinner party at my friend's house in DC, my neighbor actually, and I like had one, and I have these goofy headphones in because I just put my AirPods through the wash last night. I'm not happy about. That's not the first time I've done that, but I was like, I had one AirPod in, and I was like sitting on a couch like at the cocktail portion of the evening, and it was a 70s themed like New Year's Eve party. So like my friend who's been to Fish shows with me and like, you know, knows the deal. He's like, dude, we're not listening to Fish tonight. I hate to tell you, like it's just not happening. And I was like, oh, Time Turns Elastic. And I was like, I was
It's
going
my
crazy.
jam!
They were all like, go away, dude, just go away. Anyway, my daughter's
That's
calling
fantastic.
me. I have to run. I
Thank
hope
you
to
for
see
joining
guys
us, man.
at the garden. Yeah, sorry I have to cut it short, but
It's all
thank you
good.
for the opportunity. It was
Thanks
fun.
for
All right,
coming
guys.
on, man.
Thanks, Jake.
Of
We'll
course.
see you
See you guys.
We'll see you soon. Well, we're gonna keep talking. Brian,
Yeah.
Megan, what do you think about this show going back? Because I agree, Megan. I don't listen to 2011 Fish at all. I mean, I guess I have the Waves, you know, the Bethel
Mhm.
sound check wave, but that's not even a show. That's just like the sound check version that was put on one
It's
of
like in
those.
the afternoon, the day before the show.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. The LP on LP. But
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you guys think about this? What do you think going back?
You know, I think 2011 is a really interesting year. There's a lot changing during the year. I think it started incredibly strong with the Bethel run. The middle night of Bethel is still one of my favorite shows of 3.0. From the start, they were experimenting a lot more with jamming than they had in 2010 and 2009. There were a lot more open spaces in shows. I think the Storage Jam is up there with the Fuck Your Face show and Wingsuit as some of the most important things that the band did in terms of like evolutionary next steps in 3.0. And the show that they played the night after, 7-3 at Super Bowl, is still that first set I go back to consistently, similar to the August tour and the Dick's run. Like there was a lot of momentum is kind of the point I'm trying to make throughout the summer. A lot of change, a lot of experimentation, and a lot of experimentation that worked. This was the first year that they did not do a fall tour in 3.0. And I think that this show, 12/28/11, got everybody on a high. I watched these shows from afar, and it got everybody on a high coming into it because this show rules. This show has a ton of energy, really good song selections, some great flow in the second set. 1229 has some really good moments, but this run overall kind of ends anticlimactically. And I remember there were a lot of, take this for what it's worth, there's a lot of negativity online following this run, and there was a lot of concern that the band had kind of reached an end point in 3.0. And we talked about this with Ryan Storm a couple of weeks ago in the episode about June 2012. They really redeemed themselves in that June 2012 run. There's some incredible shows there. So all that's to say, I love this show. It's an interesting point in the band's history because they're coming off of a really evolutionary summer tour, and then the run, as I recall, kind of ends anticlimactically in a way that felt like we might be seeing the end of Fish 3.0 for a bit of time. But I don't know what your guys' thoughts were going back to it.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting to listen to it because there are some really great moments, I think, that play off that summer. I think this is kind of the proof of when Fish isn't able to play a lot of shows in the fall. I think it's hard for them to come back at this point. I think they're in a different spot now, obviously, but they weren't that far off from getting back together, and I think they still had a lot of room to grow in trusting themselves when they're playing together and in taking risks musically. And it's interesting because I feel like when you listen to the show, you can hear them really find like amazing moments and jams. And then they seem to be almost like walk away from them, or they'll ripcord it or just kind of like segue out. Like even the Carini tweezer, which is amazing, even that segue is so beautiful. And you can hear them kind of like, Trey brings in the tweezer riff, but it kind of like, I wish they would have stretched that out and stayed in that like in between moment. It's really beautiful. And they just kind of like roll right into tweezer and then that's over. It's like, you can feel them kind of like, okay, we did that jam. Like, let's move on, because they're just not in that space, I think, where they're super comfortable jamming for a long time together yet. But there are some incredible moments, I think, throughout the run, but especially in this night. It seems like this is the best night of the whole run, which is so interesting. But yeah, I think they really suffered from not doing a fall tour.
I think there's, I mean, I agree with what you guys are saying. I mean, one thing that's really interesting to me is that I think maybe Steam is the only original that debuted in all of 2011, which is just
I think you're right.
Wow.
just sort of fascinating just because it's, I think, obviously their original, the new stuff really fueled their creativity in 3.0, and there's so many examples of that, and it still does now with new songs. I think in 2012, I don't think there were many debuts either, if any. So my theory doesn't actually hold up, because I was going to say that there's like something to that material giving them more fuel to kind of improv with and experiment with. Although in 2012 they could have been working on stuff that came out later. But that was sort of fascinating that, like, I don't know, given everything we heard in 2013 onward, that there was like no new music for almost 2 years. And I wonder how much of a factor that was.
I mean, I think the one thing I would add to what you're saying is 2012, while it doesn't feature new material, they open up the song catalog in a way that they hadn't in a long time. And there's a lot of rare songs and a lot of bust outs that happen throughout, especially June, which seem to act in the same sort of manner that debuts would, where it just excited them about the set list again. And it excited them about, what was possible. 2011 definitely felt like, they debut all these songs in 2009 that go on Joy, but then you get this 2-year period. 2010 has a few debuts, but none that really lasts. Like, I can't tell you the last time they played My Problem Right There, and that was Burn That Bridge. A lot of these songs that Trey was writing when he was writing Hands on a Hard Body. So you get Steam, that is such a classic Fish song, which, will lead to Thread 6 years later, 7 years later, he's starting to get back to this space that he's going to find himself in from a band writing standpoint as they lead up to Wingsuit. But the focus, at least from my perception, still seems to be on rebuilding Fish. and figuring out small ways to tinker rather than, where we see them now, where every show just seems to, at least from afar, looks like it's delivered with ease. Like they can go on stage and it doesn't matter what song they play. The next song is going to be a surprise. It's not going to be predictable. And by the way, here's Wolfman's Brother, which you all predict in the first set, but we're going to drop into a beautiful ambient jam and play it for 24 minutes. And it's going to, encapsulate the creativity that we feel in this moment. You weren't getting that at all. This is like kind of still the era where every first set was 13, 14 songs long and played pretty straight.
But RJ, I totally agree, because I think about how creative they are right now and how much new music has come out the last few years. I mean, I think that has totally fueled why we had such an incredible summer and fall tour and a great Mexico run.
I think so. I mean, in Trade releasing Mercy, I mean, he's clearly just, that's what fuels him, is like writing and working on new stuff, right? So the rest of the band, I think, follows that energy that Trey brings, right? Like they always have. So I don't know. It's interesting. It would be interesting to know if like 2011 was like sort of a dry spell in terms of creativity and songwriting. And I wonder how much of that is total coincidence with kind of the way that the improv went versus, something that could be connected. I don't know. I'm sure it wasn't conscious. Like, oh, I can't, like, I'm not writing songs right now, so I'm not going to like play this tweezer for more than 12 minutes or something. But there might be something more, there might be something there.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder, like, I saw 2 shows in 2011. I was living in Portland, Oregon, and I was cooking, and 2 things geographically and work-wise. Like, I was far away from every Fish show except for the Gorge, and I worked all the time and had no money to travel to see Fish, which is why I don't cook anymore. And I saw the Gorge shows and the rock and roll Boogie on Meat Stick combo. I may be getting Meat Stick and Boogie on out of order there. I apologize. I deeply apologize if I did. But that trio of songs in the second set of the first night at the Gorge, you had this moment where like the band was tapping in almost immediately to the sounds that they found at the Storage Jam. There's a long segment where Paige is on the theremin and Gordo is just turned up super loud. Fishman is just destroying the drums. Trey's playing these like super powerful chords that like are just going up the mountainside at the Gorge. And it was moments like that where it felt like they were tapping into something that was going to fully realize itself at like Dick's the following year for like the Fuck Your Face show and the Light, the Sand that would come the next night, but wasn't fully realized and maybe needed something else to tap into it. And maybe that was tapping into old songs. Maybe it was starting to write songs again. I don't know. It feels like 2011 Fish was kind of the end of the honeymoon phase of their back, and we're all just happy they're back. And that conflict of them needing to change something up and move in a different direction was really, really present. At the same time, you get a show like this that is really enjoyable to go back to and showcases a ton of energy and creativity.
Can we jump to 2022 MSG real quick?
Yeah, man.
Always.
We're gonna make place wagers on what they're gonna play and when?
I think it's a good idea. It always works.
Oh my gosh.
What I want to know, just people who are watching, if you can comment in the comment box on the opener. The opener is I don't want this to sound bad, but like I usually don't care what they open with or what they play ever. I just don't. It doesn't matter to me personally. But the opener for this run seems important to me for some reason. And I don't, maybe that's just because they haven't, like you said, they haven't played there in 2.5 years. And just like there's a lot on this, there's a lot on this run. And I'm curious. Sure, Patrick. That is great. That is so.
I just want to say that Patrick is going to be helping us recap one of the MSG shows, and if they play Because I Got High, like we're going to have to do something incredibly special for him because that would be amazing.
I think that I think that the entertainment and realistic matrix just fit perfectly for that prediction. You know, I love it. It's a great prediction. Well, okay, there's a couple people who are watching who've weighed in. Megan, do you have a strong feeling about this?
No, I'm terrible at this. I feel like every time I try to predict what Trey's going to open with, he opens with something totally different, but it's so perfect. I think this is the show that keeps getting away from them this run. Like they keep, this is the one place they haven't played that I think they've been dying to play since the pandemic. So there's no doubt Trey's thinking about it. Like I actually feel like this is a time when Trey is thinking about that first song he's going to play. I don't think he's just going to go out there and wing this. So I do think it's going to be really thoughtful. But I don't know. I'm terrible at predictions.
It's funny.
What do you think, Brian?
We had this conversation leading up to summer tour, and I definitely overthought this. And I've been thinking about this since spring of 2020. And so that was the problem, was I thought they were going to open up summer tour with dinner and a movie. And the idea being like, you've all been watching us. Now we're here. Like, this is the transition point. And I remember RJ saying they're just going to open up with "I Never Needed You Like This Before." And it felt too on the nose to me, but it was so on the nose. It was perfect because, of course, what else is Trey going to say to people after however many months it had been since their last concert? And, there were legitimate times in 2020 where I think we all felt like, I'm never going to a concert again. It's just never going to happen. And so to say that at that point was really emotional and important. I keep coming back to the way that they opened up Maple Night. Do you guys remember that?
I was there that night.
I was there that night too, but I don't remember what they opened with.
They opened with "O Canada." It was Trey playing like Hendrix playing the Star Spangled Banner at Woodstock. It was just like they had a spotlight on the Canadian flag and Trey just ripping it. And someone mentioned this. I don't know if it was here or if it was, I don't know, somewhere else, but that they're not going to play "Auld Lang Syne" at midnight on the third night. It's just going to kind of be a tease that like weaves its way through the run. And I really like that idea of like "Auld Lang Syne" opening this overall run and it being like, this is the New Year's run. And Trey just comes out and he just plays it, just like full heart on his electric. Paige comes in on the baby grand, and like we can all kind of take a deep collective breath. And now we are in the next year that we should have been in.
Brian, I have chills. I feel like that's
really
perfect.
good. That's really good. I will tell you, Brian, that I think that's a great call. And I will tell you that my summer tour opener, as Patrick is watching, who I've seen a lot of Fish shows with, will tell you most of my predictions are wrong. So that was the one that was actually on the record that I did right. That's why I'm never doing it again. But I've been saying Wilson the whole time. Not the whole time. I don't know, over the last couple of weeks, just because I think it fits for some reason, but it's not going to be that, and it's probably going to be something awesome, like what Brian said.
I really like friend of the pod, Brian Golenberg's idea here of the curtain wave.
Oh man!
Oh my God, I would die. He
also just suggested "Waiting All Night," which would be good as well, because we have been waiting all night.
That would be awesome. We got "On My Soul."
Brian, your favorite?
I just want to go. I want to say one more thing about Wilson, which is that they, as you guys know, they opened their first show at MSG ever with it. And I just feel like it's like.
And 12/30/19.
Yeah, there's like an MSG thing with Wilson that I think could really like get the crowd fired up.
I mean, the crowd is going to be insane.
Yeah, it's going to be totally insane. I think this is a ghost prediction.
I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
That'd be good. Ghost openers
cool.
are really fun. And like, I love the idea of Wilson just because I'm currently putting together episode 1 of Undermine, which focuses on the Baker's Dozen, which happened at Madison Square Garden. It comes out on April 27th for anyone out there interested. And, sneak preview, all of you get to hear this first. There's a section in it where it's perfectly fitting to put the MSG 12/30/94 Wilson in there. And as I'm putting it into the episode, I'm listening really intently with my headphones on. And the second the Trey plays, that like the crowd can hear the E chord, there's this guy on the tape who's just like, "Holy fuck, Wilson!" And you start to hear the crowd yell back at Trey. And it's kind of that moment where, like, you know, you have to imagine the band walks out on stage at MSG for the first time, and Trey's just like, "I just want them yelling at me. Like, I want to hear the whole stadium yell at me." And what perfect song to do that. And that could work really well here.
I'm into it. I think it's a great call, personally.
Very fun opener.
I think there's only been like maybe 7 or 8 Ghost openers of all and
It's a
ever.
rare thing.
So I'm all for that. Patrick has another guess. Patrick, that would be wonderful. I'll be with Patrick for that. So if that happens, there's going to be a lot of hugging. That'll probably happen anyway. This is going to be so great. It's just a couple days away. Megan, how are you feeling about the MSG run, and like what are your current feelings about it?
I'm very excited. I'm cashing in a lot of debt in my family here to be gone for 4 nights and not be helping the family or be present for anything, but I'm ready for it and I'm so excited. I have friends flying up. So my friend flies up on Wednesday. We have multiple crews merging. There's like college friends mixed with like city friends, mixed with all my different friends. It's kind of fun because my 2 friends that I see these shows with, we've all met later in life and like become friends now. And so we all have like our old school fish crews. So they combine together and it becomes like really fun. And so it's just been fun trying to get ready, like setting up plans. I have very big ambitions to do after parties. We'll see. But I've got plans. But I'm so excited. I think the shows are going to be absolutely legendary.
Wow.
Wow.
Brian, what's your latest thinking?
I think
there's still time to get on a plane.
There's still time to get on a plane. I'm really excited for everyone who's going to be there. Certainly there's a part of me that would love to be at these shows. It just wasn't in the cards, and I'm trying to do a bunch of shows this summer. I would love to get back to MSG. I haven't been since 2016. I feel in a sense like, not that I'm going to enjoy it more from afar, but I feel a lot of intensity around this run, a lot of emotional buildup. And, for me, I listen to a lot of fish. I think about a lot of fish. I talk about a lot of fish, but like I can only really apply the actual act of going to fish shows to like certain points of the year because there's so much that goes into it. And everything you guys are describing is like what the week before Dick's is like for me, where I have friends coming into town and like we have a schedule and an agenda lined up to like maximize as much as possible. And we put as much money towards babysitters as we do towards like the run itself. And it's totally worth it, because it's like a nice little break from your kids. I think musically, I don't know, I don't want to set expectations too high. I think that the band has approached the last 9 months of music in a way that none of us could have predicted a year ago. None of us could have predicted in late July 2021. They seem to be on a high, and I'm kind of at a point where you're at, RJ, where I almost don't care what is played. Like I've seen pretty much every song I could ever want to see, aside from like a few extreme rarities. I've seen every style of show I could ever wanted to see. It's more just, the band is in such a unique place right now that I don't think any of us could have predicted 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, in the 90s, like the idea that Fish is still playing MSG in 2022 and they're playing at such a high level that they are. I'm going to set up a TV outside on my back patio. I'm going to start a fire each night. I'm going to hang out there. I'm going to watch the shows, and I'm going to talk to people who are at the shows the next day. And it's going to be the absolute best. I'm really excited. The sofa bed sharing with RJ sounds excellent. Thank you, Patrick. But I've got to balance out fish work and family work all at once in one weekend.
I think you're onto something though with like the being at peace with missing shows, because there's something So I'm going up on Wednesday morning, and I have probably 5 meetings with like investors and advisors and other people, and I have an all-day recording session on Thursday for this new pilot of a new fiction show we're working on, and it's going to be intense, and like all that stuff will be great. And then there's like obviously 2 fish shows that I'm seeing at night, and I'm leaving the afternoon. We're doing the fan art show on Friday afternoon from 12 to 5. Tom and I will be there with all of our sugar maple art, which is made by the amazing Ryan Kerrigan, who I think was watching before, or maybe still is. And then I'm leaving on a train right after that show to come home. So I'm missing the Friday night show, which is like the longest show. So why would I leave right before like the longest? I mean, but like it's going to be intense and exhausting, and it'll be great. It'll be totally worth it. But there's something to being able to just say like, cool, I'm out, and like, see the shows at your leisure in your own house. That it's a stressful thing, I think. And going back to what we were talking about with Jake earlier about, fish fans wishing they had seen shows earlier or being older. I don't know if that's true, but I can definitely see that argument. A good reason why you don't want to be older is because if you are, you get very tired from things like going to concerts.
Exactly. But RJ, you're also going to see the night before the night. So there's an argument that the Thursday show is going to be the best of the run anyway. So
you are. This is very.
That's
good
true.
point.
That's true. The night before the night is a thing.
It's a thing. Maybe. Yeah.
It's
my favorite
night. Funny. I did the Southwest run this last year. I did Phoenix, Chula, and LA, and my wife was webcasting while I was at the shows, and then we flipped spots, and she went to Vegas and I webcasted. But during the Yem on the Sunday night in Los Angeles, she texted me and goes, "Do you just want to stay and go to Santa Barbara?" And mid-show, I'm like looking at changing my flights, and I'm looking at Airbnbs, and I'm looking at extending my rent-a-car. And I finally just decided, like, no, I'm just going to go home. And I got back home. I got to my couch, and friend of the pod, Josh Carver, was with me at LA. He went to Santa Barbara. He sadly struck out on tickets. I would have struck out on tickets, and I was at home. My kid was right next to me, and we were watching that Santa Barbara show. And I was like, I'm just at total peace with this, But that said, there's definitely a part of me in the back of my head that's like, you could get on a plane and fly to New York City and eat like the best noodles of your life and have the best slice of pizza of your life. And the weather's going to be awesome.
I know. I can't believe it.
The Nets are in the playoffs, so all of New York's going to be going crazy. No, that's a total joke. There's so much that can happen, and get some great Korean barbecue, but this will be, what is it? They're probably not going to do New Year's at an MSG this year, right? Is that the rumor that we're all hearing?
Is that true?
I don't know. I haven't really heard. I mean, I've heard some rumors, but I have no idea. Is that true?
Maybe that's just bouncing around my head. I feel like I was hearing that, and so at some point in the near future, I'm going to do a long-term planning to go back to MSG because New York rules and seeing fish there rules.
Yeah, I mean, this New York-Boston round of the NBA playoffs doesn't quite have the Red Sox-Yankees feel to it, but there's playoff sports happening.
And I listened to the game yesterday. My husband made me listen to it in the car ride home from Boston, and the end was pretty exciting.
Quite. I will ask you guys. There was worry. This was 4 or 5 months ago before the Knicks were eliminated, that the Knicks were going to have playoff games during this run. And the one thing I had heard was that Fish was not going to cancel the run. They were just going to have to play matinee shows while.
Really? Oh my God.
So that the Knicks could play home games. What would you have thought about like a 3-set afternoon matinee Fish show that begins at like 11:30, 12 o'clock in the afternoon and gets out about 3 or 4? What would you be into that?
Totally. Sounds so great.
This is like old person's special. Like,
kidding?
Yeah.
The early bird fish special.
The early bird. There you go.
Go to dinner after.
I don't want to come out into the daylight after a 3-set Fish show. Like, I'm too old for that. Like, I need dark lighting at that point of the night. Like, I would
Well, that's the thing. Like, when you're inside, it would have felt like 11 o'clock at night, and Fish could have really distorted your brains. Other things could have too. And then you would have left, and it's like rush hour traffic to get home on Friday. It would have been great. Would have been terrifying, but great.
Might have been really good for my body, but yeah, terrifying.
I like it. I think it sounds great. I think they should do that more often. Just go straight into the retirement age fans.
Yeah, we're probably like 10 years away from that happening.
On that note, so the next show on Wednesday, Brian, which you will be on, and I don't think Megan or I will be here, right? Because we will be at or around MSG, but you're going to be talking about a special song in fish history.
Yeah, we're talking about right on the nose. It's 420, so we're going to talk about Makasupa Policeman. We're going to talk about the origins of the song, some great versions, give out some recommendations. RJ, Megan, if you guys want to, we should do potentially a call-in just of what's happening outside of MSG. So let's talk about that. It may be too hard to coordinate. I understand how the lead up to a fish show is, but we could do some on the ground reporting potentially.
I'd like to do that.
That'd be super cool.
Let's do that.
Right.
We'll be doing that, and then we will also we will be doing recaps the day after each episode, or each show, 1 p.m. Eastern, on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We will be doing a recap of each show, and then next Monday we'll be doing a full breakdown of what happened at MSG. What went down? Are we disappointed? Are we happy? Are we elated? Did the Garden finally elevate and take off from Midtown Manhattan and fly off into the outer reaches of the Milky Way? I don't know. We're going to wait and see.
I think it's going to be awesome. I want to say just quickly, I mentioned this earlier, but the night of 420, Wednesday night at midnight, there's going to be a show that is called Dab Sessions, and it's going to be a show with John Medeski, Scott Metzger, Adam Chase, the Chase brothers, and Mono Neon, who's playing bass. It's at the Cutting Room. It's a couple blocks from MSG. Tom Marshall's going to be emceeing it. It's a pretty amazing group of musicians. So if you want an after party to go to, check that out. Just search Dab Sessions and it'll come up. And also on Friday afternoon from 12 to 5, as I mentioned, will be part of the fan art show at Stewart Hotel. So everyone should come by and say hello. Our friends at Weekend Wook Plus, they're going to be broadcasting from there, so we're going to chat with them. It's going to be a fun party. So there's a lot going on. I hope to see many of you there.
It's going to be great. It's going to be really great.
Yeah, I'll be at Dab Sessions. I hope to see everybody there.
Amazing. Okay. We're gonna go get ready for MSG or think about it. Does anyone want to tell our listeners about Sunset Lake CBD again, or should I just read Ben's email again for the people?
Yeah,
at the beginning?
Read Ben's email again. That was fantastic, and thank you, Ben, for writing in.
I don't know if this is, if people do this, read testimonials twice, but I'm going to do it because I'm not sure all these people were listening at the beginning. Not because you're not good listeners, but because you joined late. So Sunset Lake CBD is our sponsor. They have amazing smokable hemp products. They have, I use the tinctures, I use the gummies, I use a lot of their products, but we tell you about that every week. And I want to tell you about our friend Ben, who's a listener, wrote and said, I want to thank you for introducing me to Sunset Lake CBD. Been a cannabis smoker on and off for 25 years. High THC cannabis has not done well with me for a variety of reasons, but I was always hesitant to try CBD. I finally ordered some smokable CBD from Sunset Lake on your recommendation, and I love it! ! Last weekend, I went camping and hiking in the Utah desert, and having some CBD at night by the campfire while listening to fish was practically perfect. I will be ordering more products from Sunset Lake. Love the pod. Keep up the good work, and I will see you at Dick's in September. Thank you, Ben. And thank you, Sunset Lake. Go to sunsetlakecbd.com and use the code HFPod for 20% off. You will see Brian at Dick's for sure. And I think many, many people from the Osiris universe will be there. It's going to be a good celebration.
We got a lot in the plans for it. I'm very excited. And I just want to say Ben's testimonial about Sunset Lake is essentially all of our testimonials about Sunset Lake. I think all of us at various times have had that same experience, and it's such a great product and such a great company. So check them out.
Amazing. Thank you, Bill, for tuning in. Bill says thanks again. We appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging out with us and Brian, Megan. We're going to see you. I'm going to see both of you soon somehow. But Megan, I'll see you in a couple days.
Can't wait.
All right. See y'all soon.